What is the key to this ministry of priesthood, and what is the problem? They're both one and the same. The key to it is self-expression, and that's the problem. We're scared to death to express ourselves. You think about it a minute. I read once that in some survey they took, people were more afraid of public speaking than of death. And if you don't think people are afraid to express themselves, go to any church and see how many people refuse to sing. And it's not because they can't sing or don't know the songs. They just can't let go and sing. I was at a Cursillo encounter once in the University of Niagara Falls, and they had a party that I wasn't expecting, and I got there late, and everybody was singing folk songs, and I love that, so I'm singing away. And then they started this kind of dance where everybody holds hands and begins snaking through the room, and they were trying to draw me into this dance, and I was just hung up. I was too self-conscious, and I couldn't get into it. I was holding onto the table. I wouldn't let them. They were trying to physically drag me into this dance, and I'm saying, David, what's the matter with you? Why won't you get into that dance? You're just hung up, that's all. So when I got back to my parish, I was up preaching, and I was saying to the people, why won't you sing? And I heard this voice behind me say, why won't you dance? See, everybody has some point where they hang up. Now, if we can overcome our fear of self-revelation, then we will express our faith, express our hopes, express our love to people, which really means we will let Christ within us express His truth and His hopes and His love through us. But we have to overcome the fear that we have of self-revelation. And that's a real dying to self. When we started by saying that priesthood is ministry and sacrifice, and they're one and the same, I put sacrifice just in terms of giving up your time, which is giving up your life for another. But it's a greater dying to self than that. To express yourself is a dying to self. You're dying to your hang-ups, to your self-consciousness, to your protection, to your reserves. You're becoming free and spontaneous, and that is a real dying to self. So priesthood is a marvelous step. Now, how do you get into it? Well, the key word again is expression. Express your faith. When you go to church on Sunday, sing. Get into it. Don't sort of sit there as if, I don't want anybody to think that I'm really excited about any of this. I hope nobody thinks I'm enthusiastic. Go ahead and express enthusiasm. What if you don't feel enthusiasm? There used to be a man way back when I was young when they had elevator operators. And this elevator operator used to sing all day. And one of the people in the building who worked there said to him one time, he said, Joe, are you really that happy all the time? And he said, I'm not singing because I'm happy. I'm singing to get happy. Now there's a profound psychological truth in that if we express something, we will begin to get into it. So it's not hypocrisy to express enthusiasm you don't feel. Not if with your mind and your heart you know you have something to be enthusiastic about. Feelings don't matter. I mean, I don't say they don't matter, but they're not the essential. But if you express the enthusiasm that with your heart and mind you know you should have for God, that is not hypocrisy. In the same way, every day with every person you deal with, try to be loving. I mean, in a physical way. Smile. Say hello. I went to school at Holy Cross College, and my roommate talked me into going out for football because they had a training table. And I was the absolute last man on the team. We had a practice game with Boston University. And they filled the bus, and there was one seat left, and the coach looked around and said, all right, Knight, get on the bus. So I got on the bus. And I sat there watching them play until finally he threw me in for one play, in which I did absolutely nothing. And as we were getting back on the bus, standing in line, the first string guard, whose name was Mike Boyle, just walked by and looked at me and said, how'd it go, Knight? And I said, fine. And I'd have died for him right there. Because he noticed me. He was the first string guard, and I was the lowest man on the totem pole. I didn't know he even knew my name. Now, I told that story when I became a priest. I began to preach about that you never know what one word of yours will do for another person. That's priesthood. One day I realized Mike Boyle doesn't have the slightest idea what he did for me. So I wrote the college and asked the alumni office if he's still alive and they have his address to send this letter to him. I'm telling him what I did. He wrote me back. He said, "You're right, I don't remember this at all." He said, "But I'm an invalid now. I can't get out of the house, and your letter really made me feel good." So I thought I paid him back. Now this is priesthood responding to priesthood. See, I could have said nothing. He could have said nothing. I could have said nothing. But because we let, and I'm sure it was Christ, because we let Christ express himself in and through both of us, we each enhance the life of the other. So to take on this fourth step, it's real simple. Just begin to express to every person your appreciation. Tell people anything good you see in them. Smile at people. Never just have a business transaction. Always make it personal. Even if it's just by saying, "Hey, you know, it's hot outside. You're lucky to be in an air-conditioned room." You know, or whatever. Anything at all that makes it personal. And that way you let Christ express himself in and through you. So, Lord, you said, present your bodies as a living sacrifice to God. So, Lord, wherever our live bodies are, we offer them now. We want to be sacrificed to doing your will and to letting you express yourself in and through us in everything we do in order to give life to the world. We ask you to bring this to perfection because you are Christ the Lord. Amen. Let's discuss this a little bit. That's priesthood. Let's just, express what you got out of this, what you see in this. Be free. Open your hearts. Express yourself. And then we'll come back and see where we got with this. Okay? Welcome back. Now, I hope you all experienced Christ expressing himself through you. He was. I'm not saying he doesn't do it with bells and whistles like, "Hey, this is Jesus speaking." But as time goes on, you will really know. It's a mystical experience that you ought to claim. No bells and whistles one. That Jesus Christ is really expressing himself through you. And there are times when you'll be very conscious of that, at least after the fact. Now, see, Jesus was God made flesh. In and through Jesus, the divine love of God was expressed physically. Jesus' body was the medium through which God showed his infinite beauty and love, expressed his truth. So, if you want to know how to be a priest, you look at Jesus and say, what did he do? He was the Word made flesh, and he let all of the truth of God be made flesh in his words, in his action, in everything he did. So as we grow into this fourth step, grow into our priesthood, we will also grow into awareness of our union with Jesus Christ and into a more appreciation of what he did as priest. And that's what it's all about. Lord, let us live this. You are the Word made flesh. We ask that in our flesh, your words might be made flesh, and in our actions. We ask this of you who are Christ the Lord.